There's a Texas man who smashed Taylor Swift's signed guitar that he bid $4,000 on at an auction. And he says, look, it was just a joke. I mean, I wish I could have $4,000 jokes, but that's wild.
Welcome to the Hollywood Raw Podcast, Raw Rundown. My name is Adam Glynn on the East Coast. On the West Coast is Dax Holt.
Good morning.
Sir. Good morning.
I'm good, and
Top
yourself?
Of the morning to you, Dax. I am well. I was going through my morning news outlets. What's your morning news outlets? When you want to see what's going on in the world, what do you do? What do you go to?
You're gonna laugh at me, but I'm still trying to go on TMZ. Like, after all the years of working there, it's one of the first, like, I open my apps, TMZ I do pull up just because, I don't know, it's been ingrained in my head for so long that it is one of the first stops.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I do usually New York Post and I do Daily Mail. They're pretty quick and up to date. TMZ only has like I think, what is it? I guess it's 4 a.m. for the East Coast every morning. That's when the news stories come out on the website. But there's only like 2 or maybe 3. You're lucky if there's 3 news stories every morning. It's kind of slow.
Which is funny because when we were there, you had to have like 7, 8, 9 news stories to publish at that 4 a.m. slot.
Yeah.
So like at the end of the day, we would come up with, okay, what kind of auto publishes do we have for the morning? And you would have to have like 7 stories before people could really be done for the day.
The one thing I'll say, Dax, who would you say is the setup paparazzi queen in Hollywood?
Ooh, setup paparazzi queen. I don't know who you're talking about. Shit. Who are you talking about?
I'm talking about the most underrated setup paparazzi person out there, Katie Holmes. I feel like people. We know, but I don't think people know.
When you said Hollywood, I was thinking L.A., but she's New York, and so yes, if you would have said New York setup queen, I would have been like, yes, Katie Holmes.
It's crazy how much setup paparazzi shots Katie Holmes does. I'm not hating it. Again, it's show business. But it's so funny because I see Katie Holmes around New York City pretty often. And there's photos right now on Daily Mail of her walking New York City with her makeup done. She looks great and she's like smiling. Her bag is showing. The fashion's going. Of course, she has a new show on Broadway coming out. So it's so funny that they're working on it. And then if you look closely at who's credited for doing the photo, it's a company called Startraks. Startraks does a lot of setup paparazzi photos. So it's like, it's just funny how the industry works.
She's been
people like that kind of complain about it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, she's been working with Startraks for, I don't know, 15 years. Like, you could see, if you go back in time, Startraks has been taking her photos forever. Startraks is not even a big agency. You know what I'm saying?
It's not even a legit agency. It's not real. It's not even, I wouldn't even consider them a paparazzi agency.
Is it?
They work with brands and a celebrity.
I think it might even just be a paparazzi who goes under a different name and to submit them to like Getty and stuff or something like that. I don't know.
So it's a photographer that his name's Michael. The guy's a piece of shit. I don't care. Fuck him. And I don't care. And what he does is he's got this relationship with celebrities, more like the publicists. And then they have a brand who says, hey, we want the brand to be featured in the photo. Let's say it's some coconut water. Okay, Katie Holmes, let's get you quietly, kind of sneakily in the CVS, Walgreens, Duane Reade, holding the coconut water. And then we're going to push that out there. And of course, outlets will run it because it's a free photo. He's getting paid from the brand. She's getting paid from the brand. So it's a win-win for them. Why not? So
again, we're not against setup photos. Yeah,
not against it. I'm only against it when you don't call me to do them. That's really my bottom line. But you know who's really doing a lot of setup paparazzi shots now? I mean, it's crazy how thirsty this girl is. Brooks Nader, who's on Dance with the Stars, the Sports Illustrated swimsuit model. Okay. She is working it, dude. She's working the scene so hard. She's doing setup paparazzi shots. She's now hooking up with her co-star in Dance with the Stars. And then she puts out stuff that she was flirting or maybe kind of potentially dating Tom Brady. It's like,
Okay,
She's
but here's the
really working
question.
it.
Is she working it? Because you said she's thirsty. Is she thirsty, or she's just using her moment in the sun and capitalizing on it? Because it's you don't have a big shelf life a lot of times. And so your moment, if it's there, do you push hard to stay relevant?
Well, it depends what you want to stay relevant in. I mean, if you want to focus on the modeling, which she is a legitimate model, I think
Mhm.
you're putting the emphasis on the wrong thing. However, maybe she's trying to say, hey, people care about me like they
Yeah,
care
but
about Emily Ratajkowski. So you're going to hire me for work because people in
exactly.
mainstream media care about me.
Think
So,
about
yeah.
the biggest models out there. They're the biggest models out there because they're also famous for other things. Like, it's not like the days of Cindy Crawford and Naomi Campbell where you became famous for modeling. You were the biggest model in the world because you're married to Justin Bieber. You are a Kardashian adjacent sister. You are, you know what I'm saying? Like, these are the biggest models in the world. Kendall, Kylie, Haley, they're all huge because of their outside personas. And people go, oh, they may bring Kardashians to the show. They may bring Justin Bieber to the show. They may bring all these other people. Emily Ratajkowski, who's she going to show up? It's the way to become a big model these days.
Well, I mean, I guess the question is, how much of your soul are you willing to sell? And I'm not
All
saying
of
she's
it,
not.
Adam.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying there's anything wrong against dating your Dance with the Stars co-star, but who knows if they're really attracted to each other, or she's like, hey, this is my moment. This is good for the show. It's good for people to vote for me. It's good for me to stay on. It keeps me relevant, keeps my name in the
Yeah, but
news. So
I feel like the Dancing with the co-star or Dancing with the Stars co-star is so overplayed. They've done it for so many years. They know that it works. They know that they get publicity, but God, that's like such an overdone thing at this point.
well, she's done a lot of overdone things to kind of keep her name in the press. So there's not, but that's why I would change her strategy a little bit. I wonder if Dance of the Stars will come out with a thing where you can't date your co-stars during the season.
No, because it works for publicity for the
I
show. Why
know
would
it
they stop
does.
that?
I know. I just think it's funny. It's just like, hey, we want to keep this really professional, like professional sports. You have to wait till
Not
after
gonna
the
happen.
season. All right. Today is our Raw Rundown where we give you the top 10 stories of the week. How do we find out the top 10 stories? It goes by Google search, it goes by data, and lastly, it goes by our personal opinions. But ultimately, it comes down to the data. Just like any single major news outlet, major news outlets have a screen. They're seeing what people are clicking on, what stories people are going after, and they kind of dig more into those stories. And that's how we kind of come up with a Raw Rundown. It goes by the data. Before we get to our Raw Rundown, we read reviews. We ask for reviews. It's very much helpful to us to grow the podcast, to keep the podcast, to keep the lights on. So, Dax, do you have a review ready for us?
I do. All right. This one is from mbeth1263. Says, great podcast, 5 stars. Just found you guys and I'm loving the podcast. Definitely going into my rotation. Thank you,
Thank
mbeth.
you. I
Appreciate
appreciate it,
it.
Beth. Very nice of you. Very kind for you to say a few kind words. And
Very
again,
demure, very
very
kind, very respectable.
very demure, very kind. I interviewed that person. That
Oh,
person that
did
does
you?
it. Yeah,
The
I interviewed
lady?
very. I don't know what they, but they were very nice. I have to say, I interviewed them during
Yeah.
Fashion Week, and very nice person. And if you want to leave a review, just go to, for example, go to Apple Podcast app, put in Hollywood Raw, go all the way to the bottom, and just put 5 stars, say a few kind words, and say a few kind words. We'll actually read your review live on air. And if you don't want to leave a good review, and you want to talk shit to me like Katie Hoff in our private Facebook group, off the record. I saw that you make. She said I make her cringe. She sounds I sound naive, unprofessional, unprepared. Katie, you couldn't be any far off. You probably have that mask in your photo on social media a little bit
Stop it,
close to your
Adam.
brain. So
Stop it.
I know. What am I
Stop it.
doing? I don't care. Honestly, I welcome
Adam
it.
is so mad. He saw there was a mean post in our,
I am
in our
actually not
private
mad.
Facebook page.
Yeah, there's someone left some
And
shit about me.
so if you want to see the post, you got to go to our private Facebook page. But she clearly did not like that you said freak fest instead of freak offs,
How
which is,
insane is that?
well, you're a dumb fucking ass. It's a freak off. Okay. Get it right,
Yeah.
bro.
Yeah, exactly. Katie, whatever. I don't want to give you the fucking
Stop it, stop
credibility.
it. You
It's
had
fine.
like
Honestly,
10,000 people come to your defense and say, all good.
I am not mad. Trust me. It sounds like I'm mad, but I think it's hysterical. I honestly think it's funny. All right, let's get to our Raw rundown, starting with number 10.
Number 10, Kate Gosselin apparently hurting for money, according to people close to her, and is dying to get on a new reality show. But here's the thing, she obviously did John and Kate Plus 8, which aired from 2007 to 2017. She did Dancing with the Stars. She did a couple other things, but according to some people close to her that told In Touch magazine, she is quote unquote hurting for money, and she doesn't really even socialize with friends. Her nursing job that paid her kind of like a fraction of what she was making on Kate Plus 8 didn't really pan out, and so she hasn't been really doing anything for all these years, other than what money was brought in from the reality show. And so she's still trying to get a new reality show, according to these sources, but the doors aren't really opening for her. And a big part of that, I think, is because she's been really painted as a lunatic mom, ever since her son Colin came out with all these allegations that she would like zip tie him up and lock him in the basement because he had behavioral issues. And he has been very vocal. Colin now lives with his dad, John. And after John got custody of him and his sister Hannah, and he has just been painting his mom as a nut job that just didn't know how to deal with him when he was younger, said that he had all these mental disorders, which he has come forward and said, I've got new tests done and I have no mental issues. This was something that she claimed, but he described his childhood as like, and this was after her and John had split up, that she would lock him in this basement room that basically had a very tiny window. It had cameras. She would turn off the lights, lock the door from the outside, and he wouldn't be able to get out. And he would just spend days in there. He claims that he did go to his counselors that time at school and say, look, my mom's abusing me. Look, I've got bruises on me. But that she said, like, no one's going to believe you. She sent him away to basically like a boarding school. And there's a lot of issues that he is now coming forward with. And it seems to be maybe one of the reasons that she is not going to be getting a reality show anytime soon. She is saying that all of that is not true, that he had behavioral issues. This was, she dealt with them appropriately, that there was never abuse. So anyway, there's a lot of the son saying versus what Kate is saying, but it's not looking very good for her. I always do wonder that, like, you are someone that had a massive reality show. You're super famous still, right? Like at the end of the day, Kate Gosselin's name and face,
Yes.
very famous still. That's got to be hard to go work a normal job that other people would see you in, right? Like imagine she like working at Costco. God, I love Costco. But like if you're at Costco and she's restocking the cheeses, you'd be like, the hell are you doing here, Kate?
Yeah. I mean, it's a weird time. People start to film you on their phone for their own social media. It's like, it almost feels like you're in a petting zoo. It's got to be very difficult. And I'm going to give you my guy answer first, Dex. Can I give you a guy answer? Or I'm going to give you a guy story real quick. And this is a very guy thing. No, I want to say this, and this is my guy comment. The first time I met Kate, I was impressed how pretty she was in person. I thought she was very attractive.
Mm-hmm. Did she have the long hair or the short hair back when you met her?
I think it was short, I believe.
She had the Kate bob, and you were still into it, huh?
No, it was like sort of, she was already famous, so it was already added like that first haircut we saw her, like that really hardcore Karen haircut. But I was like, very pretty. All right, back to that was my guy thing of like dudes talking. Back to this.
She actually is very, very pretty.
Yeah.
Like I'm looking at a photo of her right now on Daily Mail where she's got like a purple background. She's doing some kind of interview. Very pretty lady.
Yeah, I was surprised, and not surprised, but I was like, oh, she's very attractive. It's always sad when a kid is having a fallout with their parent, especially in this situation. I mean, this guy, the son is saying some pretty tough things.
I mean, the zip tying, when you hear zip tying your kid, that's a no-go.
Yeah, I mean, that's his story. She has her story. I mean, the question is, was he the only kid that she was zip tying? Or the other kids, what is their relationship with the son? And I have a lot
I
of
mean, they've
questions
all
here.
the kids have like split up. So basically, Hannah and Colin don't really talk to the other kids. They're with their dad, and then Kate has the other ones. I mean, it's a pretty gnarly situation, unfortunately.
And Kate doesn't have a relationship with John. Apparently, she, I think,
Well,
put a
he
little
talks
bit of a
crap on her too,
yeah. So
about the abuse and saying he didn't know that any was happening. He's taken obviously Colin's side in the whole situation. So
yeah, I mean, listen, I'm sure it's not easy for the kids when their parents don't have a good relationship, and so it's sad overall. You want them to be happy. They went through a lot, not just the parents, Kate and John, the kids as well.
mhm,
So
yeah.
yeah, it's just sad. I don't know what to say. Bottom line, it's just a sad thing. Because I know I can only imagine how hard it is being all
All
of
right,
them.
we got to move on. We spent way too much time on Kate. We're on number 10 right now. This episode is going to be 4 hours long if we don't speed it
Actually,
up.
5 hours. That was the goal. Number 9.
Number 9, the trailer for the new Apprentice. What is it, is it a movie? Is it a biopic?
I think it's like a
It's a
biopic.
movie, right? I don't know what it's called.
Yeah, but it's like a biopic type thing.
Okay, so the new Apprentice biopic movie thing that is starring Sebastian Stan as Donald Trump got rejected by CBS and ABC to be airing during those debates, obviously the presidential debate and then the vice presidential debate, respectively. Neither one wanted to air this because it's kind of a controversial movie. It's basically showing Donald Trump from the 70s to 80s and how he became who he became and how he became so successful in business and all this kind of stuff. But all the allegedly shitty things that he did to become who he became. And so Donald Trump's team not happy about this film. They are basically branding it as completely fiction, and they don't like it because in there you see him lusting for power and money and women and all this kind of stuff. And they're like, this is not a good time for that to be coming out as you're running for office. But ABC and CBS just said, look, we can't air this right now. It is too divisive, and it is right in the middle of a debate. So that's almost, I think in their mind, it's not fair to show something like this. I think is what they're saying. But it is they don't want to feel like it would affect the outcome of the election, which that seems weird because I don't feel like CBS or ABC would care about that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
No, yeah.
I think they would put it out more if it affects Trump. But it is what it is. Anyway, so the
It's a good
Trump
cast.
campaign,
Yeah.
dude,
Sure.
Sebastian Stan, because remember he played Tommy Lee in the sex tape movie. He
Mhm.
can transform himself. It is
He's really
unbelievable.
good.
This man who is a chameleon in some of these movies.
Jeremy
And he's
Strong
kind
from
of
Succession's in
underrated.
this. Yeah, this is like a really good cast. As far as the movie coming out, obviously it plays into the election. It's good. I understand ABC not putting out the trailer for the movie during the debate
Mhm.
because it is so I don't know. It shows it could bias to some of your audience, even though at the end of the day it's show business. They have news shows on their channel, so they have to kind of not put a bias out there.
Oh, you want to
Um,
hear what Trump's campaign said about it?
what they say.
Stephen Jung from his campaign basically said, this garbage is pure fiction, which sensationalizes lies that have been long debunked. And so they're saying this is election interference by Hollywood elites who know that President Trump will retake the White House and beat their candidate. And so that's why they're putting out this movie. It's so funny. The election years are the worst. They really
Yeah.
are. It's like I'm like, damn, we're back here again. Everything is just so political everywhere you turn. It's awful.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, I think it was a smart move by ABC and CBS, even though it is show business. They also have news programs, and they have to be, even though there might be sometimes a little bit biased, you have to kind of. It's not the right time. It wasn't the right
Yeah.
time. It was a world event. All right, Dex, number 8.
Luke Bryan responding to Beyonce's CMA snub. He basically said, look, This is a very tricky question to answer because he is one of the hosts of the CMA Awards, which will air live on November 20th on ABC and then on Hulu the next day. But obviously, he was going to get asked a question. So I'm sure he was prepped and ready to answer this because, you know, everyone's being asked this. Dolly was asked, everyone's being asked. And kind of the answer that you have, it's either going to you're going to get a lot of flack no matter how you answer this question. But he said, look, it's a tricky question. He answered this, by the way, on Radio Andy, because he was on Sirius XM. He said, obviously, Beyonce made a country album, and Beyonce has a lot of fans out there and that have her back. And if she doesn't get something they want, man, they come after you, as fans should do. Because, I mean, listen, I'm all for everybody coming in and making country albums and all that, but just by declaring that, just because you've made one, a lot of great music gets overlooked. Sometimes you don't get nominated. And then he basically said that Beyonce should come into our world, be in country with us for a little bit. And then if she wants to be recognized by the genre, Beyonce can do exactly what she wants to do. She's probably the biggest star in music, but come into the award show, high five us, have fun, and get into the family too. Country music is a lot about family. So it's kind of the same occurring theme that I even heard from Dolly Parton, where it's like, you can't just put out a country album and then be a country star. Like, you have to really be in it. Don't just make it a themed album and then go back to pop, go back to whatever. Be in country for a little bit if you want to earn your awards. And so it seems like that's how country is.
Agreed. I mean, I would say, look at what Post Malone's doing right now. Post Malone just released a country album. All his songs are with country artists, huge names from Dolly Parton to Blake. I mean, the album is great. Morgan Wallen. It's a really cool, fun album. And then he's on tour right now, but the tour of it is like sort of like country based. He's just
Did
been
he get
cutting
Taylor, by the way? Did he get Taylor to do a song on his album? Because she just got him on hers.
I don't know if I listened to the album. I don't know if that's the one song they did together. I can't tell you which. My favorite song on Post album is "Losers" with Jelly Roll. Believe it or not.
Yeah,
I think that's my favorite song on the album. As far as the song with him and Taylor, I know they did a song together, but I don't know if that song is on Post album. I don't remember.
No, that one was on hers for sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's on hers. But the album's. I agree with what Dolly Parton said. If you want it, you can't just put out a country album and expect to be in that genre. You have to really kind of, put yourself in that community.
Live in country for a while. She did submit Cowboy Carter for Grammy Awards in the country category, by the way.
I mean, so I get it.
She's literally isn't she the most decorated Grammy Award winner of like all time? Or Taylor didn't beat her on that, right? I think she's got like 32 Grammy Awards over 88 nominations. So she's crazy nominated. I wouldn't be surprised if they give her a Grammy for country. The Grammys is like that. You know what I'm saying? Like the CMA Awards, some of that stuff, I can see them not giving her a country Grammy. I'm sorry, a country award. But I feel like for the Grammys, because Beyonce is their girl, I could see them giving her a country Grammy and almost kind of like doing it for her.
It's going to be interesting because, yes, she applied for it to be considered for a Grammy Award. But does she get the nomination even? I could see them giving her the nomination.
But I could see they're giving her, like, if she goes in there for 7 different country awards, I see them giving her one at least. Again, the Grammys has lost a lot of respect over the years, but I think that they have certain people that they will bend over for. Billie Eilish, Adele, Beyonce, and they will make sure that they just keep Beyonce happy. We want her showing up to the Grammys every year, kind of thing.
My prediction, and I don't even know, we still have a lot of time left, but I think Post Malone wins that country award. I think he's really put himself within the community. He's embraced himself within that community, and the other country stars love him. This album is solid, and it's folk. I mean, for a guy to go from hip hop, pop to country and like really put himself there, and it's real country, and it actually covers all different themes of country, where it goes to like the old school country, where new country is like pop, and then there's the old school where it's like we kind of thought it was like Brooks and Dunn sort of style, and that's where he kind of goes back to the old school sort of country, but makes it cool. So I think it's pretty interesting what's going to happen at the Grammys with
my kids love Miles on It. Have you heard that song?
Yeah. Yeah.
I did not realize how dirty that song was. It's like, oh, this has got a good beat, and you're listening to it, and then I started to really listen. I'm like, oh shit, this is literally the whole song is about banging the back of a truck. I'm like, and my kids are sitting here just like singing it, loving it at the top of their lungs. I'm like, oh my god, am I a horrible parent right now?
Yeah, Dax. I'm gonna send Dyfus actually as soon as the podcast is over. Number 7.
The doctor in the Matthew Perry overdose situation has now pled guilty and could face up to 10 years in prison after basically conspiring to distribute ketamine. So this is the California doctor who pled guilty on Wednesday in a plea deal with federal prosecutors over that fatal overdose that killed Matthew Perry last year. But Mark Chavez is the doctor's name. He's 54. He appeared before a U.S. district judge in Los Angeles court, pled guilty to conspiring to distribute ketamine to Perry. Even with a plea deal, though, however, Chavez faces up to 10 years in prison upon his sentencing, which will take place on April 2nd. He's already surrendered his passport. He agreed to no longer practice medicine, and he will remain out on bond. Guys, we tell you this all the time. If you are in the medical profession, don't do what celebrities want you to do. Don't jeopardize your entire career because some A-list star asks you for some extra doses of whatever. We've seen this time and time again. These big doctors lose their medical license, lose everything that they've ever worked for because of the allure of like celebrity. It's wild. But listen, according to this 18-count indictment that was filed in August, Chavez is one of the 5 individuals charged in connection with the accidental overdose, where he was found dead in his hot tub in Los Angeles. That was back in October of 2023. So basically, Chavez, he operated a ketamine clinic. He sold ketamine lozenges to Dr. Salvador, who was then distributing them to Perry. And this became like this whole ketamine ring. And Chavez obtained the ketamine after writing a fraudulent prescription in the patient's name without knowing or consent, and lied about the wholesale ketamine distributions to buy additional vials of liquid ketamine. And so a lot of people are actually in trouble for this. Multiple doctors. We've got the assistant who is also facing a lot of jail time as well, for which I know it's going to sound weird, but I kind of feel bad for the assistant because the doctors, yes, you knew better, right? Like, you can't write all of these prescriptions knowing that the person doesn't need them. The assistant, I felt like, was wrapped up in, this is his boss. He's being told, go pick up my prescription. I can't be seen going to this clinic, so go pick up my stuff, bring it back to me. And if you can give me a shot, like, I see that spiraling out of control a lot quicker for an assistant who is just doing what they're told, and their boss is a big A-list actor. But the doctors, they knew better. So anyway, we'll see how this all unfolds. But yeah, this guy could face 10 years behind bars for all of this,
I
deserves
think
it.
1000% deserves it. And like you, I kind of feel bad for the assistant. And I know it's like, some people say it's controversial. How can you feel bad? It's a very tough situation. What are you supposed to do? Because obviously you need a job. But I mean, you were listening to what the doctor said.
If it's not you, it's going to be someone, the next assistant. Honestly, like, in a situation like this, you have a celebrity who's desperate. They're going to just, okay, you're out the door. Next person comes in, which probably would have been good for this guy. But yeah, I feel bad for him.
It came from the doctors, and the doctors, dude, they did a stupid thing. They were texting each other, and they basically were considering how much to charge Perry for the drugs. And they said within the text message statement was, I wonder how much this one will pay, and let's find out. And yeah, the investigators found that out. So I think it's just, I keep sad. Like, there's just so much sadness right here. And here's doctors taking advantage of patients and also being greedy. And they get a job that's just supposed to help people. Instead, they're hurting people. It's not the first time. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be the last time either. It's
nope.
Yeah, it's bad doctors. All right. Number 6.
Jax Taylor and Brittany Cartwright, this whole divorce and custody thing. But now Jax is basically requesting that Britney be given full custody of their 3-year-old son, Cruz, which I was surprised to see because I know he's actually a very good father. She said that he's a really good father, so I was surprised to see him go, okay, give her full legal and physical custody in their divorce proceedings. But basically, Jax represented himself in response to Cartwright's divorce filing, which was filed last month. And according to the court documents that were obtained by Us Weekly, the reality star also asked that his and Cartwright's shared property, which consists of their LA home, be divided at a later time. And then a rep for the exes issued a statement on Wednesday saying Jax and Britney have already long resolved all matters related to custody of Cruz and will continue to work together privately for the best interests of their son, which remains their overriding concern. While Jax made errors in filling out the form that are usually done by trained legal professionals, those errors will be amended. And okay, so maybe I didn't understand this the first time, but maybe he accidentally checked the wrong box, and that they're now saying in that they will go back and have shared custody. Maybe that's what I'm understanding, and that it was more of a headline that he was giving her full custody.
Yeah, that was weird. Based on the headline, you think he's giving her full custody, which I was like, okay, that's sort of nice one to. I don't know if that's.
But
nice.
It's weird that they didn't mention. Oh, it was an error. It was like almost like the rep put it in there. Interesting. Okay.
This is not just one outlet. Multiple outlets picked up that one headline. So when you see that he gives her full custody, you're almost like, Jax is a really nice guy trying to work with her here. But then all of a sudden it's like, I don't know.
I mean, this sentence, while Jax made errors in filling out forms that are usually done by legal professionals, those errors will be amended without delay. So my assumption is the custody will be cleared up between the two of them. Okay.
Just the headline kind of throws you off, and the headline went everywhere.
It really does.
You don't see that too often, where the guy, the male, the father, gets full custody just out of nowhere too. But
definitely not in California. In California, it definitely doesn't happen that way. It goes mainly to the mother, which I get it. But
these outlets know what they're doing.
There's sometimes where you've seen other situations where clearly the father needed to get custody because the mother was not in the best shape or whatever.
Yeah. Dax number 5.
Frankie Valli breaking his silence after there were some videos that were circulating online that made him look like someone was forcing him to be still performing at the age of 90. Did you see any of these videos where he's like up on stage performing? It looks like he's kind of like behind on the choreography. Other videos look like he was kind of lip syncing, but the dude's 90, still performing, and people are like, give the guy a break. Like, stop making him perform. Let him relax. Like, let him chill out. Did you see any of those?
I've been seeing him for weeks, and then I heard about 2 years ago because someone gave me a tip on Frankie Valli. And I was like, I'm not going to go for him. And they were telling me, like, he doesn't perform at his shows. He just lip syncs. He just stands there. It's the oddest thing. I met him, we'll go back into the story, but I met him 10 years ago. And I wanted to, I was hoping, in my head, I had this built up, expectation how our interaction was going to go. Because where I grew up was right next to where the Four Seasons started. In fact, there was a bowling alley called the Four Seasons Bowling Alley, which they started, and that was his thing. So I was like, "Hey, man, I grew up walking right next to the bowling alley where you guys started," and the guy couldn't care less. I in my head, I built up this thing. He's gonna be so impressed, want to hear stories about the area, but he did not care. Fuck this guy. But
the guy, he's been so famous for so long, he doesn't care about you.
Yeah, he didn't care. And
how many people have told me they went bowling at the damn bowling alley? Hell out of my way.
Yeah, he did not care. But the videos themselves, they're very odd because he's not even hiding that he's lip syncing. He'll put the voice. It's unique.
So here's what a statement that he gave to people says. It said, I know there's been a lot of stuff on the internet about me lately, so I just want to clear the air. I am blessed to be 90-year-old and still be doing what I love to do as long as I'm able to. And the audiences want to come see me. I'm going to be out there performing as always. I absolutely love what I do, and I know we'll put on a great show because of our fans are still coming out in force to the shows. We still rock. So I mean, he's not saying he's being forced to be up there. I think listen, you want to do this until the day you die, do it. why not? Like, who else? Like, and if people are showing up, whether you're lip syncing or not, do the show.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not like TikTok is the most like healthy place on the planet anyway.
No,
So people it's a place of judgment anyway.
People are paying you just to see you, and they know what they're getting. As long as you're also, I think you need to be upfront with people. Like, hey, I'm 9 years old. I'm going to stand there and act like I'm singing. Don't tell them you're singing and then you're not. Because would you be happy, Dax, if you paid a lot of money to see one of your favorite musicians sing and they're not singing live?
I mean, you're talking to someone who paid a lot of money to go see Britney Spears back in the day.
True.
And I knew walking in there, she wasn't going to be singing live, but it's the performance. It's also, you know, for a lot of these people, even if he's not singing live, you're seeing him. Like, that's exciting for a lot of people because that won't last forever. You know what I'm saying? So you're like, I saw Frankie Valli in person at one point. Like, that's something you can say. And I also saw Britney Spears in person numerous times. I was at the House of Blues performance when she was wearing a wig after she shaved her head. I was there for those ones too. I saw her in like regular concerts and then in the Britney post shaving head times too.
That's pretty cool. That's actually kind of cool. You saw her during that time. That was an interesting Britney period. All right, Dax, number 4. We lost some.
Oh no. Yeah. Sorry, we gotta. There's a couple more.
What do you mean?
Oh, is that the next one? We are on the next one.
Yeah. Sorry.
Sorry. It's it's a rough week for me. Okay.
Number 4. We lost some good people this week.
Yes, we lost American Picker star Frank Fritz, and the cause of death was revealed by his longtime manager. But basically, he had died from complications of a stroke while in hospice care, and he had been suffering from Crohn's disease, according to his longtime manager. So, Crohn's disease is an autoimmune disorder that causes inflammation in the digestive tract, and it can cause like abdominal pain, severe diarrhea, fatigue, weight loss, and malnutrition. Crohn's itself is not fatal, but can lead to life-threatening complications. So that was his cause of death. But the story that has been really taking over the headlines is John Amos. John Amos passed away, and I can't even say this week, which is the crazy thing. He passed away back in August, but we're all just finding out about it this week. John Amos, you know him from Good Times, you know him from Roots, Coming to America. He was 84 when he passed away, and I think he's probably one of the most famous roles he played is Kunta Kinte from the 1977 miniseries Roots. And then he was on Good Times. He played the dad, James Evans Sr. But he died on August 21st in Los Angeles of natural causes. And we're just finding out about it now. But we're not only the ones finding out. His daughter just found out about it too. I guess his daughter was kind of estranged and she didn't really talk to her brother. And he didn't tell her apparently, but anyway, so John Amos is being recognized all over social media by people who loved him. He was really like that father figure for a lot of people as they were growing up because of Good Times. Were you a fan of his?
I mean, he was one of those. Was I a fan of him? You don't really realize what you had until he was gone. He was just a great actor. I never met him, but he was one of those guys in a role. You saw him and you knew the role he did he always delivered. And
by the way, he was still acting. I think he's going to be in that new Suits LA show, which was a spinoff from Suits. And it's due next year. And they said that he was in that. So I'm assuming we will still get to see one last acting role by him.
Cool.
So anyway, but that one's the big one that I think a lot of people are talking about. Want to make sure we recognize his passing today.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, American Pickers, I love that show. That Pawn Stars, I watch those shows in marathons. I'm obsessed with those shows. You ever watch those shows?
Yeah, I didn't really care about them though. I've seen them. I'm not.
They're just good background TV. Like if I'm folding laundry, it's good shows. You have those shows that it's just like they're laundry shows?
Yeah, no.
It's so fucking weird. Number 3.
I mean, how much laundry you have? You got like 30 minutes to fold your laundry? I take my time. Get in and get out. Okay. Kristin Cavallari and her boyfriend Mark Estes have broken up. This was a story that I think we maybe mentioned last week, but now Kristin is opening up a little bit more about the reason for the ending of the relationship. Still all very positive things, but she went onto her podcast, Let's Be Honest, and said, listen, we decided to go our separate ways after 7 months of dating. She goes, Mark and I broke up. It's hard because I broke up with Mark because I know just long term it's not right. It's not because the love is lost or something bad has happened. She goes, no one cheated or was mean. She's like, sometimes you just have one of those kind of breakups. She goes, it's easier when the guy does something messed up that makes you hate him. But on the other hand, Mark has been nothing but super sweet and so supportive. He's been the best boyfriend I've ever had. It's just, I know long term he needs life experience. He's young. I started to feel the age a bit with life experiences. I look back when I was 24 and how much life has happened between then. And those are the crucial years. They're the formative years. They're when you find yourself and need to be able to do that. And so she goes, let me just paraphrase it. She basically just said, look, nothing bad happened. I just feel that age gap, and that one day when he's married and he's had all of the experiences, he's going to look back, and he has a family of his own. He's going to look back and he's going to thank me for making this decision for us, because I think she wants him to be a dad, and I don't know if she wants more kids. So she really feels like he'll say thank you one day to her.
Did we ever think that relationship was going to last forever?
No, but she also said that too. She was like, look, I didn't think this was going to be a forever relationship. We were having fun. We were dating. We were, doing all the stuff. But that's it. She's like, I don't regret anything about it. I don't regret introducing him to my kids. I don't regret anything. It was really fun and he was wonderful. But it has now ran its course.
The only thing I'll say, the way she talked about it, and again, she was talking about it. She wasn't reading off a script. She talked about it on her podcast. It kind of didn't make Mark. It seemed, to me personally, based on what she said, it kind of belittled Mark a little bit.
Why?
I don't know. I just felt like,
I don't think she did at all. I thought she was
she talked highly about him, but she also, it didn't like, she didn't boast about him. He's an unbelievable guy, great guy, but.
She's literally said he was the best boyfriend I ever had. She said that they've had the best sex of her life. I mean, she's complimented the guy left and right. But it's also, you just broke up. Like, at the same time, you're like, cool, I was the best boyfriend you ever had. We had great sex. Why would you break up with me? I'm sure that's how he's feeling.
I take it back just because of that relationship. This guy got a reality show. Him and his Montana boys are doing a show together. So they're working on a reality show. This guy now has a career. So it was good for him. I guess it was good for her. They had a good time. Is she interesting enough that we care about her being an open book? I guess some people do. But I don't know. It's, yeah. All right. Number 2. I was going to say something about another reality star, but we'll probably get into that next week.
All right. There's a Texas man who smashed Taylor Swift's signed guitar that he bid $4,000 on at an auction. And he says, look, it was just a joke. I mean, I wish I could have $4,000 jokes, but that's wild. So basically, he's a Texas man, and they were having this big old auction. It was, I guess, to benefit agricultural-based education efforts for local youth. And one of the auction items was this signed Taylor Swift guitar. And the auctioneer was up there, and he had the guitar in one hand. He had a hammer in another hand. The guy who won, Gary, walks up there, and everyone's kind of cheering, and he takes the hammer and just starts smashing the guitar, and everyone starts cheering and laughing. And the way that the auction made it sound was like, oh no, like this was funny, it was lighthearted, there was nothing mean about Taylor Swift, don't worry about it, it was just us being in a funny mood. And I'm thinking, you don't smash a guitar. Obviously this is very politically driven, is my assumption here, because Taylor Swift has come out. She has endorsed Kamala Harris. I'm sure most of these people at the auction were pro-Trump. And so he bought it, smashed it. Everyone went wild because of the political background between this. Because you don't just smash a $4,000 guitar, and it's Taylor Swift. Like, think about the many millions of people that would die to have this guitar in their possession, and he just smashed it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
I was the thought I have from this, as I was just so surprised. This is how big Taylor Swift is how big of a story this became, and do I think this is a great story? No, but the traffic that this story brought is just insane. That just goes to how big Taylor Swift is. I mean, I don't think we've ever had a star as big as her.
That anything related to her becomes big news.
Yeah. That's it. The Google search. Like, I was out with the editor of a huge news outlet last night. I'll tell you after who I went out with. And they were telling me about this story. Like, we can't believe this story just keeps doing well in traffic. I'm like, it's incredible.
Because it appeals to both sides. It appeals to the Taylor fans who are like, oh my God, why would you ruin this beautiful piece of history? And then you've got the other sides that are like the Trump supporters being like, yeah, I would have done the same thing. You know, you've got both sides being reflected in this story. And I think that's why it gets a lot of traffic. Everyone's picking up on it. So it's interesting, but I don't think we've literally had a star like this. I'm going to go back to maybe since like Michael Jackson, like where everything they do is covered. And it was very different when Michael was younger and at this point in his career, because we didn't have the social media, we didn't have the blogs and all of that to cover everything they did. But I think Taylor is at that Michael Jackson level stardom, kind of like I would say Beyonce is there as well, where it's like people cry when they walk on stage.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I'm very late to this, Dax. This is something I told you about this girl this week. I know she's big, but I just heard about her this week. I heard the name, but I didn't really pay attention to the name. But I just heard her music, and then I did like a deep dive into her. Gracie Abrams. Now, it's hard for us, we're a little bit older, to kind of keep up with what's going on, the new artists and everything. I try my best, but there's so much out there. And I heard this girl, Gracie Abrams, actually, she popped my TikTok, and she's a very pretty girl. And then I listened to the music, and I was blown away. And I guess she opened up for Taylor a little bit. And then I looked into her more. She's doing Radio City this weekend. Then her dad is J.J. Abrams. I mean, she's part of like the whole Taylor Swift crew. This girl's a star. She's a star.
I'll have to go listen to some of her music.
Gracie Abrams. Let us know in their private Facebook group, Off the Record. If you listen to Gracie Abrams, do you see what I'm seeing? Do you find her to have an it factor? Because, I mean, music-wise, I think she's got something, this girl. All right, Dax.
Make sure when you're in the private Facebook group, put that comment, and then also let Adam know what a piece of shit he is for messing up any comments this week, okay?
Yeah, let me know how much you were offended that I called it Freak Fest instead of Freak for All. I don't know. It's all the same thing. What are we talking about? Here, people? It's delusional. All right, Dax, the number one story of the week.
Number one story of the week, obviously, is all Diddy related. Once again, the stories never end here, but Diddy is now facing new sexual abuse allegations from 120 accusers, with claims of involving a 9-year-old as well. So basically, there are allegedly 100 more accusers that have reportedly come forward alleging rape, sexual assault, sexual exploitations against Sean Diddy Combs. There was a press conference on Tuesday with a Houston attorney, Tony Busby, claiming that the youngest accuser was 9 years old and another was 15 years old. Busby acknowledged that there were more minors involved in the lawsuits, which have yet to be filed, and that Combs's legal team is denying all the allegations in the statement provided. They're saying that, as Mr. Combs' legal team has emphasized, he cannot address every meritless allegation in what has become reckless media circus. He said that Mr. Combs empathetically and categorically denies as false and defamatory any claim that he has sexually abused anyone, including minors. He looks forward to proving his innocence and vindicating himself in court, where the truth will be established based on evidence, not speculation. But Busby, that lawyer in Houston, has claimed that the abuse began as early as 1991, with reported incidents happening into 2024, and that victims are scattered around the country in states including Florida, California, Georgia, New York, and that they came forward after Diddy was indicted by federal prosecutors. And and the one other thing he said, he goes, there's a lot of other big names that are on the list that are involved in this. And he said the names are so big that they will shock you, and that he wants to make sure that all those names and allegations are solidified before they start releasing A-list names of Hollywood, or, he doesn't want to get himself sued, I guess. But I think this story is long from over when we start hearing of all the people connected to the Diddy and the Freak Fest. I'm going to call it a Freak Fest now just to make people mad. To the freak offs. So anyway, and then the other big story that came out was that someone had claimed that Denzel Washington once stormed out of one of his parties screaming, "You don't respect anyone." And so this was one of his parties back in like 2003. It was an all-nighter party, and that at one point, Denzel came out screaming, "You don't respect anyone," and stormed off. So I don't know. He was there with his wife. We obviously don't know any more stories of the details. Now it just seems like anyone that has a story connected to Diddy at all gets a headline.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of people are curious about right now. We've seen the last week and a half of all the people who've attended Diddy's parties over the years. Then you wonder if those people, I guess everyone's wondering, were those people aware or were part of the freak parties? What is it? The Freak Fest, Dax? The
Freak offs.
Freak offs. I guess that's what people are curious. If those celebrities involved were aware and were participated in the freak offs. I think people are very curious about what's on these videos and tapes. And if you heard our episode this past week with Fred from the CEO and founder of Media Takeout, we could only really discuss the stuff that's really out there. There's a lot of conspiracies out there on the internet. There's so many content creators. I saw this girl, probably has like 35,000 followers on social media. She's trying to say that, that Mila Kunis left and walked out on Ashton Kutcher because of his involvement with P. Diddy. We don't know that. That's all speculative. There's no truth to that. I only like facts.
That is the hard part with all of this Diddy stuff is you have the media reporting one thing, you've got the lawsuits, you've got TikTokers and people reporting just whatever they want as fact. It's a wild story when you get to this level. You start to get to the point where you're like, I don't know what to believe. I don't know what to report on because there's so much misinformation flying around left and right, and everyone's just trying to capitalize on him being in jail right now.
People are clicking on it. People are clicking on the story. People are clicking on watching these videos, whether if they're true or not. But I think right now, I think the curiosity is what other celebrities are going to go down with Diddy. And I
went down on Diddy.
What? Or went down on Diddy. It doesn't matter what genre or whatever, and you heard our interview this week with Fred. I mean, he was with men and women. No issue with that. Listen, to each their own. I think some people are sort of surprised, but I say check out our episode this past week because we take a deep dive in all the facts that we know on this case right now. Now, we don't go into really dig too much into conspiracies because with this thing, we didn't want to kind of mess with people's head and put some fake narratives out there. As journalists, it's not, you could go down and listen to some random podcast or talk about it. For us, we'd rather go by the facts. So, but yeah, that is the raw rundown, our top 10 stories of the week. I'm sure next week Diddy's going to be in it at some point. Thank you guys for watching. If you're watching on Red Coral Universe, thank you for watching on YouTube. Make sure you guys leave a comment, even on YouTube. That helps us out with the algorithm on YouTube. We got a great YouTube team right now and Red Coral team that really helps out with clips and social and short form formats. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. We're on it all. Shout out to our private Facebook group, Off the Record. Follow me at Adam Glenn. Follow Dax Holt at Dax Holt. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Guys, hope you liked that video. We got a lot more where that came from. Hit that bell, like, subscribe, share with a friend. The best you can do to support us is really doing that. And we really need the money because we need hair gel.